Well, the Tennessee Titans are finally back next week, and golly, I cannot tell you enough how jazzed I am about this, especially since we have football games on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. That's 5 days in a row of football in general. What's good, y'all? Welcome back to the Titans Rundown. I am your host, Micah McCamey, and wow, I can't believe that we're almost here, honestly. That offseason felt like an absolute drag. I'm just, so over waiting, and I am finally ready to watch the Tennessee Titans rain havoc on the NFL this season and for Will Levis to have that breakout year. But today we are going to be previewing week 1. Now, this will usually be like a 5-minute thing at the end of an episode for the game review, but since today we have no games that we can talk about, we're just going to talk about the game that's coming up ahead. So, let's talk about this. Week 1, we play against the Bears. If you were curious, the record for the Bears against the Titans is 6-7. Titans 7-6. That's obvious enough. So I just thought that was an interesting statistic, and I'm gonna talk about that almost every time that we do this. Like, what's the record against each other in these matchups? I mean, I don't think there's a team that we're playing for the first time ever any of these matchups, so that should be interesting to look at. But anyway, I'm going to go over the X factors and the biggest X factor for each team whenever it comes to what they need to do to win in week 1. Okay, so starting out with the Titans, obviously, they're my home team. I know the most about them, and I know what they need to do to win this game. And I had so much trouble with the Bears because I didn't know them as well as I did the Titans. So, first off, the O-line, you've got to step up. Like, not T'Vondre Sweat. Montez Sweat is no joke. That dude is a beast, and he will eat someone alive, potentially. Especially since he's probably going to end up going up against NPF. Like, NPF, we've been doubting you for a very long time. This is a game where if you play well, then most of those doubts will probably go away because of your decent play. So please, for goodness sakes, just play somewhat decent, hold your own, and that will be fine. Like, as long as he holds his own against Montez Sweat, we should be fine. But still, Latham, again, just play like an average left tackle. Okay, Will Levis will really appreciate that. Don't be just absolutely horrible, one of the worst of all time left tackles. It won't be good. My expectations aren't too high for Latham in game 1. Just at least be decent is all I'm saying. Skronsky, Lloyd, I have high expectations for y'all. Like, Skronsky, you put on a bunch of pounds during the offseason. I gotta see that those pounds start to affect the way you play in this game, all right? Lloyd, you were brought in here to stabilize the O-line. You are regarded as one of the better centers in the NFL. And if people know what they're talking about, they'll tell you that you had like a top 2 or 3 center season last year. So, like, again, please just don't mess up your blocking assignments. I know that you've been struggling in one-on-ones in training camp, so please just, double team. That's all I'm asking for. Radens, this one's weird because, like, he doesn't have a marquee matchup, but he's also very unproven. I'm confident that Radens will come out of this offseason and look pretty good during the regular season, better than people are expecting. I mean, he was out of position last year and he only gave up 2 sacks. Imagine what he's going to be like in position at guard and playing against defensive tackles and having help from Lloyd Cushenberry. Like, that's huge. So those are my overall thoughts on how the O-line should do. Like, if we play to that level and Will Levis has time, he can very easily end up throwing some dots. So I'm just hoping that that will happen. All right. Another thing, Ernest Jones needs to step up. And I don't mean as in like Ernest Jones needs to become a better player, because what he is right now is good. What we really need him to do is we need him to be able to play more than like 2 or 3 times a quarter, because, like, not saying that he does that on a regular basis, but like, this is a new team to him. He's only been in Titans practice for like a week. So, like, hopefully the Titans squad can get him acclimated and we don't have to see Jack Gibbons start against this team. Because if Jack Gibbons starts against this team, buckle up. But Um, those are just my thoughts, honestly. Like, Ernest Jones, as long as you are available and you are healthy, we will be completely fine with you being on the field. We'll love you more than we did Jack Gibbons. Sorry, Jack. Just, he's not a starting linebacker. But anyway, next thing. The Titans blitz needs to be at them all day long. Like, we need to get pressure on Caleb Williams. If we don't get pressure on Caleb Williams, throw this game in the garbage. This was almost my X factor. But I didn't, because there's one more obvious X factor that we'll get to in a second. But like, the offensive line is pretty decent. I mean, their left tackle, I can't remember his first name, but I think his last name is Sweat. I think, maybe. I'm not too sure about that one. But their left tackle, he needs to be getting exposed by Arden Key. Arden Key or Jalen Harrell, maybe. Like, we need them to start, messing around with the left tackle. Right tackle, Darnell Wright, I watched him at UT. He's very good. But he has to go up against Harold Landry. That's a tough matchup, especially for a dude that is going into his second year. So I'm hoping that he can at least take advantage of Darnell Wright's youth and go in and destroy that man. Interior O-line, I'll be honest, I didn't really know that many of them. So T'Vondre Sweat and Big Jeff, you're going to have a field day out there. Like, this is a big game for the T'Vondre Sweat, Big Jeff tandem. This could show us that, you got to double team one of them, but you leave the other one-on-one. And if I had to take a guess, they're going to double team the more proven commodity and Big Jeff, and then get T'Vondre Sweat to go one-on-one. But that's even a worse decision, because he's 400 pounds and moves like a gazelle. Like, he will get into that. He will get in on that offensive line and will at least get some pressure. And of course, linebackers are very blitz heavy, so like, put some more pressure on that O-line. That may make almost everyone one-on-one. Like, imagine like how good it would be to see one play where like T'Vondre Sweat absorbs a double team, DJ Moore was put to the ground by L'Jarius Sneed, and Big Jeff came in for a big old sack and potentially forces a fumble. But that part of it is a little bit too much wishful thinking. So anyway, other thing, Diggs has got to be better than Byard in this game. Okay, they're both veteran safeties that were really loved by their previous teams, and both teams wish that they didn't have to say goodbye so soon. I think that ours is a little bit more special with Byard, but like, they both had to get released because of performance reasons, and now they're veterans hoping to bolster a secondary that was okay. Well, our secondary was bad, but it looks good because of all the transactions we've made. So, again, Diggs got to be better than Byard, especially whenever Byard was playing for us. He's got to be better than that version of Byard. Like, as long as he is just okay, the secondary is going to be really good. And I am worried for somebody to get hurt, because Elijah Molden did get traded to the Chargers. Like, I wasn't as worried as I was before, because of the fact that Elijah Molden was good depth and that he could at least come in and be decent. But like, now it's like Mike Brown, like, that's the head coach for the Sacramento Kings in the NBA. Like, it's tough, right? Like, we had good depth now with the safeties, and now, I'm just hoping that both of them stay healthy. Same thing with Amani Hooker. Oh, another thing, the Titans wide receivers have to be better than the Bears wide receivers. They're both playing against some tough secondaries. The Bears have a pretty good secondary. The Titans have a really good secondary. That secondary is a little bit unfair, and I think it's kind of a war crime. But like, holy cow. Like, dude, DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, Rome Odunze. We've got to lock those dudes down, right? We've got to make sure that L'Jarius Sneed steals their lunch money. And with the receivers, we've got to make Jalen Johnson look like one of the worst DBs in the NFL. You know what I'm saying? Like, we need Calvin Ridley to get some separation off of that man, or at least distract him from the D-Hops and the Tyler Boyds of the world. Just make sure that the Titans wide receivers can at least look solid and get open for Levis, because it doesn't matter how good the protection is. If the receivers aren't getting open, then there's no way that we're going to win this game. Like, that's just it right there, unless the run game is just really good, which I think it could be. That's another thing that I wanted to mention. Running backs, Tony Pollard and Tajay Spears, they've got to have a really good tandem going into this game. Like, they've got to be going back and forth, bouncing off of each other. Spears making one big play, Tony Pollard making another big play, making people forget about Derrick Henry. Sorry, that's a little bit of an over-exaggeration, but, like, making people realize that we're not just Derrick Henry with the running back room, that we at least can run pretty well without Derrick Henry. The biggest X factor in this game is Will Levis. I'm not going to sell you short of that. I'm not going to give you any build-up. That's just obvious enough. Okay? Will Levis we've been hearing about it all offseason, how good he's looked in training camp, how much of a leader he's looked like, how sharp he is, and just how great he has been overall. And we've seen it in preseason, too. I mean, in the Saints game, 7 for 8, 118 yards, and one or two scoring drives, almost one passing touchdown if it wasn't for DPI. Like, come on. Like, it's honestly quite amazing thinking about the fact that people are still doubting this man. I mean, I think he's going to be good, and I think that this X Factor will deliver. But here's the thing. If he doesn't, then the Titans are guaranteed to lose this game. All right? Like, Levis has got to pick it up. Like, Levis has to avoid the pressure that Montez Sweat will build, whether NPF plays good or not. And he's got to throw some very accurate passes, because I know that there's going to be some tight coverage on some of those plays with, like, Chig and Wiley. I don't know why the tight ends came to my mind at first, but that's another thing. He's got to hit those checkdowns. Like, he's got to hit his safety blankets in the running backs and the tight ends, because it's not going to be deep balls the entire game, because the secondary is so good that there are only going to be a few times where we can catch them lacking and go for a deep pass. So just wanted to put that out there. But anyway, now we shall move on to the Bears. This one was a little bit harder for me to come up with because, I don't know them like I know the Titans. So Bears fans, if you're watching this video, just correct me on some of these if I'm wrong. But realistic Bears fans, not those ones that think that Caleb Williams is the second coming of Jesus Christ or something. Like, not those fans. Like, the ones that actually think that they could have a good season, but they know that it's going to take a little bit for Caleb Williams to get used to it. But, all right, first off, the Bears need to find a way to block both Big Jeff and T'Vondre Sweat, which is hard because their interior O-line, again, correct me if I'm wrong, Bears fans, I hadn't heard of any of them, so they may be really good, and I'm just selling them short, apart from Nate Davis. Nate Davis is really good, but, the center and the left guard, I didn't ring a bell, but I'm happy that I saved myself with Nate Davis there, because I was actually going to write a joking one right at the bottom of, can Nate Davis stay healthy? Because that was one of his biggest things in Tennessee, that he was just constantly injured. Like, no matter what the circumstance, he was hurt over and over again. But anyway, they got to find a way to block both of those guys. Maybe Nate Davis would have caught on to a thing or two on how to block Big Jeff, but those other two, if he gets matched up with the center, it could be pretty bad. And if T'Vondre Sweat gets matched up with the center or the right guard, or the left guard, that could also get pretty ugly, especially considering the fact that it feels like all T Sweat has to do is just run forward like this, and he'll rain havoc at least a little bit in this game, especially in the run game. He's gotta find a way to stop DeAndre Swift. But anyway, I'm making this sound like a Titans X Factor. The Bears O-line has got to have good protection to potentially win this game for them. That's the first thing. The second thing is, we know that, L'Jarius Sneed is going to make DJ Moore look silly. DJ Moore is going to make L'Jarius Sneed look silly. It's going to go back and forth with those. Same thing with the matchup of Keenan Allen and Cheeto. I'm pretty sure that Cheeto is playing in this game, but we'll just have to see whenever it comes to game day on that one. But we have both of those things, and we've got to talk about how, Roman RMC, that's the biggest matchup of this game, to me at least, for the receiver core. Because here's the thing, it's going to go one of two ways. Either Roger McCreary is going to look like Rome Odunze's daddy and give him his welcome to the NFL moment, or Rome Odunze is going to use his height to take advantage of Roger McCreary's kind of small stature and absolutely burn him a lot. So, that's one of the biggest X factors for the Bears is, can Rome Odunze get open consistently against, I can't believe I'm saying this, but the Titans' weak link. Like, he is now. Like, he was the top dog last year, but now he's a good cornerback, really good even. One of the most underrated nickels in the NFL. But he's not as good as L'Jarius Sneed, I can guarantee you that, and I don't think he's as good as Cheeto. Like, if he was as good as Cheeto, he would be matched up against Keenan Allen. But, again, if Roger McCreary was just a couple of inches taller, he would be one of the best nickel corners in the NFL right now. I'll just say that. But overall, again, Odunze has got to come out the gates, strong and expose Roger McCreary and make his height look like a non-factor. Because we saw that a little bit in training camp where, like, Treylon would be matched up one-on-one with Roger McCreary, and it's just like, if Roger McCreary's arms were a little longer, he could have broken that pass up. But then he gets absolutely head-topped by somebody like Treylon Burks, which is not the best sign. But, all right, third one, Caleb Williams has got to take our blitzing well. Like, we are going to rain havoc in the blitzing game. Like, there are going to be multiple linebackers going in. There may be safeties going in on the quarterback. Like, Denard Wilson is going to be doing this to the blitz game. He's just going to spam it the entire game. Like, he is just going to he's just going to send in the linebackers almost every single play. Like, it's going to be tough for Caleb Williams to create any type of open space the entire game. Like, I know that he's a good scrambler, but, like, I don't know. I saw that play during preseason. I may roll it up here as I'm talking about this, but that play where Caleb Williams rolled out to the right, then he broke dude's ankles, rolled out to the left, and then ran into the end zone with an O-lineman in front of him. I don't think that he's going to be able to do that against, like, an actual defense. Like, take this. Like, the Bengals' second-string defense was in there. Of course he was going to make that look easy. But, like, whenever, like, a Titans' first-string defense is in there, or any of the tougher defenses that they play against this year. Like, if any of those defenses are in there, are we sure that, like, he's going to be able to do stuff like that? He's not at that insane physical advantage that he was in college football in the NFL. Like, don't get me wrong, he can still roll out to the right and throw a dime in your face. I'm not saying that. All that I'm saying is that he can't just scramble around the entire place and find a man wide open. Like, he's going to have to roll out right, roll out left, nothing, like, insane. Now, I get it. Patrick Mahomes does that type of stuff all the time, but, like, come on now. Patrick Mahomes is a different animal. And I don't care. I've got to see him be a little Mahomey before I believe he is a little Mahomey. Like, he had a couple of plays where it's just like, looks like Mahomes, but, like, he hasn't had any type of plays that are just like, oh, wow, he's going to be better than Mahomes. Like, I just think that's ridiculous. But anyway, Caleb Williams needs to deal with the pressure greatly. Like, he's gotta be able to make his reads, get the ball out quick, and make sure that this Titans defense doesn't get into his head too much. Because I know that when Big Jeff gets pressure on him, or even gets a sack on him, we know he's gonna yell in his face, "Pain and nails." So, like, he can't let this defense get into his head too much. All right, fourth off, safeties need to get the job done here because, like, the secondary is pretty good. Jalen Johnson's great. Kyler Gordon's pretty good. But the thing is that good old Kevin Byard, our buddy, he was meh last year. Not really that great. If I can, I'll put his PFF grades up right here. But, like, he just left a lot to desire, right? Like, he wasn't a game changer like he was in previous years. So if he can at least be that for, like, one more game, that will help the Bears significantly. Like, I know that he was probably brought in there more to be like an emotional support human or emotional support dog of some sorts. Like, he was brought in there to be the mentor, the dude that is the mature person in the secondary. Like, he was meant to be like that for a relatively young secondary. Yes, Jalen Johnson is still pretty young, and that's scary because of how good he's been. But overall, again, like, Kevin Byard just got to be really good in this game. He's got to play at a higher level than he has been, especially whenever he played with the Eagles. Some of those plays against the Bucs were really bad. Like, he's got to play better than he did there. But anyway, next one. Cole Kmet needs to be Caleb Williams a safety blanket, right? Like, he can't, like, not get open because Caleb Williams, again, like I said earlier, he's going to be facing a lot of pressure. So, like, he needs to be able to go get it to his tight end, his safety blanket, his check down of some sort. Like, he's got to get it there quick. And, I wouldn't be shocked if Cole Kmet ends this game with the most receiving yards because of how much pressure there will be. Like, he's going to get pressured almost immediately, and he's going to have to roll right and throw it to Cole Kmet in, like, the flat route or something, get him, like, he's going to have a good amount of yards just off of checkdowns alone, to me at least. So, just wanted to put that out there. That one was just minor, but the biggest X factor for this game for the Bears, I'm going with the defensive line. Look, our offensive line is young, it's inexperienced, it has a lot of raw talent on it, but I don't think, as much as I love Bill Callahan and I think he's a wizard, and this offensive line will be better than it was last year, it still has some growing pains to go through. So, can the Bears D-line take advantage of that? Can they make somebody like a T'Vondre Sweat? Can they make somebody like, not a T'Vondre Sweat, golly, give me 1 second. Can they make a guy like a J.C. Latham? Or can they make a guy like an MPF look silly, look stupid, look dumb? Like, can they make those guys look like that they've never played a snap of NFL football before? In one case, that will be true. But in the other case, not so much. But, like, can they make the Titans' offensive line look incompetent? Because that will be their biggest key to winning this game. And as a joke, I put down, can Nate Davis stay healthy? Because that was, again, like I mentioned earlier, but can Nate Davis stay healthy? Because he got injured all the time whenever he was with us. I mean, I think that he's stayed healthy with the Bears. Correct me if I'm wrong. But anyway, that's today's episode. So, I have Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok, and for people listening over podcasting, I have a YouTube channel. I promise that those perks will come back soon. I'm just on a really tight schedule right now, okay? But, yeah, that's today's episode. I hope that y'all enjoyed. Make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed. I hope that you did, at least. But, anyway, that's going to do it all for me. This has been a rundown of your Tennessee Titans. I love y'all, and tighten up.